Hello.
There he
Rude is
is.
taking over.
Wow.
Hang on. Boom. Sorry I was so late. We were picking up my son from nursery, and yes, let me not delay things any further by giving the whole journey. Anyway. So good to see you all. I have a question, first of all. I looked at our Google Doc, and I was reminded that Raphael put in so many suggestions for an introduction system and all of that stuff. So that's really good. So what I think maybe we should do for the next Future of Text monthly meeting is make it about marketing. Because it is about time that people who are interested in the book make an effort. It's easy to say things, so that's very good to see so far. But then we can start inviting a few more people. Peter has introduced us to Megan, who kindly accepted. She's young and female, which are two of the characteristics we're looking for in our diversity drive. And I'm wondering, as an initial question, if any of you guys have any specific people that you would like to invite now. And I took my sweater off because it's hot. I'm running.
I haven't thought about anybody yet, but I'm sure I can come up with a couple of names. Probably people involved in typography and design related. There's a conference that we organized here in Brazil that I was part of the organization as a volunteer for the last, I want to say 7-8 years. So a lot of people came as lecturers, and there's a lot of text plus typography plus something else that is quite interesting. So I'm sure I can find some names that would be more relevant based on what we're looking for.
That's yeah, that would be really, really good. And because we're trying to engage more women, and we have some powerful women already, we primarily need to, I plan to send out an email this week to remind everyone for the 26th and say it'll be marketing. I want to be able to say we've invited so-and-so and so who have accepted. And if they are women, then Esther Wojcicki and Esther Dyson, I think, will respond very positively for our efforts. While of course we should not neglect a properly wide range.
I'm just looking at the list of runners and riders. I guess I could run it past Stacey Mason again, who I think you've met or not, whose link in here is probably via Mark Bernstein. She works an intern at Escape for a while, well, on her own initiative, really, to find out more about Storyspace and things, and is now doing she's a doctoral student at UC Santa Barbara at the moment, and is in games design and narrative for games design. So that I think could be quite an interesting area.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I've been in a little bit of contact with her, but yeah, that would be good. I'm just going to check something here. Yeah, I'm actually surprised she's not in the book already. I thought she was there, but nope, she's not.
And I don't know, I mean, two other people sort of close to home in Southampton terms, thinking of our sort of, you know, our lab group, Ash and Sam.
Can you remind me what the areas of interest are?
Oh, well, they're both doing, well, Sam's working up at Winchester and is doing sort of games related stuff. I can't remember off the top of my head. And Ash is doing something to do with narrative structures. I can dig in a bit more, but it's, you know, it's all in related to sort of text and stories.
Okay, yeah, please. Please invite and just CC me. That should be enough for this level. By the way, this is relevant, believe it or not. There is a TV program here on Channel 4 called The Great Pottery Throwdown. it's, yeah, I can say you're the kind of boring person like me, Mark, who would watch that. Yeah.
My wife watches it, so I watch it by proxy.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a competition about, these people are non-professional potters and they compete to win a prize. It's very simple. But the reason I'm mentioning it to you guys is the surprising thing about they are, well, so anyway, we're super engaged by it, and it's very British. Everybody helps everyone. Oh no, you're not doing that right. Let me hold it for you, rather than the American version. We've seen glass blowing ones like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck everyone up here, you know, that kind of thing. Sorry for my language. But the whole thing is, one of the guys in the final now is an older, middle-aged white male. And you know, that category is supposed to rule the world, if not in creative endeavors. So we're all really shocked that he's there. It kind of is a reversal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our cultural preconditions to who rules what worlds, my wife and I were just watching it last night. It was really amusing. Like, if any of us on this call today got to the final, it would be like, are you arty enough for this? So in terms of this text world, and I really don't think the text world is male dominant at all, but we must be giving off some kind of a vibe, because when I think of a library, one of the stereotypes is a female librarian, right? And there are many, many great female authors. So we really need to make sure we get our messaging in a way that they see the stereotype fitting them and them not coming in here as the oddity making a difference. You know what I mean?
Well, I suspect there's an element entirely sort of unspoken and unintentional. It's this echo slightly of the two tribes, whereas there's sort of computer text and literary text. I mean, there really shouldn't be a boundary, and I don't think there is. But it sort of lurks there in that some people see them as actually quite different. There shouldn't be a disconnect, and given that people are now writing for, you know, non-paper devices and things, we really should be past all that sort of thing. But I think it's something that may stop some people engaging, because they just start from the premise, well, this has nothing to do with me. I do this, and that's how I imagine it. So maybe that's something we have to work on.
Did anyone ever approach Emily Short?
Can it come again? Emily what?
Emily Short.
There's a link to her publications on the side. She is very active in the interactive fiction community.
Oh, did anyone know her?
Mark Bernstein does.
Mark Bernstein.
And Deanie probably does as well, actually.
But I do like this one already. Procedural storytelling and game design. that's really good.
It should be a great addition if someone had a contact to reach out. But I don't know her or anyone who directly knows her.
I'm just sending an email to Deanie right now.
Certainly, if Deanie doesn't know her, I'm sure she knows someone who does, by way of, you know, someone who'd sort of, you know, ease an introduction.
Yeah, but I do agree with Mark that if we think about text plus technology, it tends to be more males, and if we think about text plus non-technology, it tends to be more females. So I think an idea for that would be to have, you know, in that marketing department or in the creation of images and introductions regarding what we're doing would be to showcase both sides, but to have women forefront, because the other side, it's a guarantee that we're going to find people, but I feel like a little bit more effort has to be put in to bringing more women, because they're there.
I think it's partly breaking down this barrier in the sense that it's all different. And I think, you know, I mean, because arguably one of the reasons we're all interested here is, you know, well, it is about the future of text. And if we stick with these silos, that's actually to the detriment of all, because you're not getting, you're missing out on a whole sort of creative viewpoint that's going into a lot of the construction of the sort of technical side of things. But just that it just still feels, certainly in UK, it's still, there's a tremendous sort of background of sort of, the two tribes, the technical and the non-technical, which is an entirely, it's a self-imposed construct. I really don't see why they have to be different, but a lot of people, I think, take a different view.
I also think that it is very, very hard just to get anybody interested in the future of text, to be honest. I mean, I've tried for a long time, and finally we're building a community. And what's really, really clear, including our chats here, is that each one of us tend to have a very, very, very specialist point of view or interest, which is absolutely fine. But when we try to do collaborations, it's really, really difficult. And, I don't think we actually need collaborations. I got a very, very lovely email from a lady from upstate New York, Syracuse. When I was studying there in the mid-90s, some of you may remember the mid-90s, not all of you, I needed to make some money as a student. I saw there was a computer outside a design shop, and I knocked on the door and said, "Do you know how to use this thing?" She said, "Not really." So I became her teacher, and we became quite good friends. So she appeared back in our life recently. Of course, I sent her a copy of the book. And she said it's been lying on her coffee table, and she's been so proud of her friend doing this and all of that stuff, that she felt it was way above her head, intimidating, all of those things. And then she finally picked it up, and she realizes how wonderful it is to have all these different points of views, and they're actually quite accessible. So she is a great example of the kind of person we need to break through to, I think.
Yeah, I think you raised a very important point in that, Frode, that the book as one singular artifact is intimidating, but as soon as you fragment it into these individuals, then you suddenly see the diversity and you see the different styles of writing and different points of view. And I think that's what is special about the project. And I think if we showcase individual people in their publications, or get a citation from each of the posts or each of the writings, maybe with their image attached or a little bio or something, and that becomes like the driver for marketing, to showcase what has been done by who, that's very, very powerful. Instead of thinking just the book by itself, I think if we modularize it, then it becomes very, very powerful.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting the point, which wasn't the point I was trying to make, but it's a better point. Thank you for that. Now I just put the link to our Google Doc up again. And looking through the ideas for introduction, Rafael, that you put in, one thing that would be really nice, if I give you access to the website and you just build a page, do whatever, as much or as little as you want, but you take one of those items you suggest and actually build it. I'm not trying to, because I see you're suggesting you could do some of it, and I'm very grateful.
Yes.
But instead of talking about what that could be, because also, Stephanie, who is one of our great contributors to the current book, she has suggested so-and-so, and we've been kind of arguing about what text is and all kinds of nonsense. She wanted also some kind of an ambassador or introduction kit, but yes. I don't know what kind of people she is trying to communicate to. So I don't know who to highlight for that. So maybe if we each take a category like typographers or artists or historians, whatever it might be, make a landing page for the category of person that we are speaking to, maybe something like that.
I used to make video game videos for this game called Hearthstone. It's from Blizzard Entertainment. It's a digital card game. And if you usually when you go, yay! So usually when you go to their website, you can download their media kit, like card image, high resolution card images, a biography for each of the developers, little animations, videos, all sorts of things. And these, of course, in this context, is directed for people who make videos about their games, right? But it's also for people who publish articles about the new stuff that's happening in their games. And I feel like speaking for the Nest Labs, that community, there's this very specific audience of people in there. So if we showcase some things, like you're saying, specific to that audience, that would be like a kit for them to, like, as an introduction to what's being done in text and what the book is about, and maybe 2 or 3 individual texts that give them an idea of different styles. And then that could get them interested in either participating in the community or being part as a contributor or something else. That's one of the ways that I imagine. But I also feel like it's also a good way to reach journalists and people who have blogs or who write on Medium and things like that.
Yeah, I presented to that community once, and I am a member of that community, and it was a good dialogue. But yes, I think we should do 2 things. I should send Andor an email saying, are there any female members that she thinks we should invite to contribute to the book? Just start off that way. And then do what you're talking about as a deeper engagement with that community. She is in the current book, so I'm sure there is a very natural.
Yes.
It occurs to me another angle on this, this far out from the next thing is also to say, well, if people are thinking, well, I don't have something to say, or it's not for me, is to sort of say, well, what do you think is not represented here? Even if you don't, the point is, you don't have to have an answer for it. But if you're sort of saying, I can't engage with it because none of it makes sense, what's the thing you thought you'd see there that's not represented? Because that seems to point to arguably some of the problems we should be trying to overcome. I mean, arguably it shouldn't be something where anyone sort of the starting position is, well, I don't. There's nothing there that I can engage with, or I just don't feel a part of that.
Thinking,
yeah, sorry, go on.
Thinking in forms of community building. So I see like there's 2 ways of doing that. You can either build the community, and then while the community is building and you're interacting with people, you find people who are interested in participating. And there's this way that we're doing is in getting references from people of specific individuals that have interesting materials already that we can invite to participate. One thing that is missing from this, obviously, is a place to mingle, like either a Discord server or a Slack channel, or some sort of group where people can come together and just exchange information on a daily basis as interesting materials come up.
Well, I despise Discord. They refuse to let me get an account because I have a landline telephone, and I also have a prepaid cell phone, and they don't allow prepaid cell phones. They only allow Google phones and Apple phones in order to verify accounts. So they're absolutely obnoxious. Their technical support people are absolutely horrendous. They just, it's utterly maddening to have any interactions with them.
I don't have much of a positive thing experience there either. I had to suffer through this morning talking to Mark Anderson on Discord, and it's a curious thing.
But is that suffering talking to me or the Discord?
Sorry, you weren't the suffering part. But
it doesn't have to be Discord. It's just like ideas that of platforms that have people.
Hang on one second. Okay, so Deanie says she's a friend of Nick Montfort, so I'll ask him afterwards to introduce us. One thing that keeps happening is the suggestion of blogs. But the problem with blogs is not the blogging itself, I think. It's the fact that we don't have good RSS readers. Because if, it's very easy to set up a blog on the website, and anybody who wants to could have an account. That takes 2 seconds because it is a WordPress site already. However, many people want to have the contents on their own blogs if they have blogs. So what we would need then is some sort of a web-based RSS reader that looks nice, that could show all the entries from the different kind of people. And that, I think, is a very interesting, thank you, darling, design challenge, but it's never really come together.
Well, that's doable in IMBO with partial lenses.
Can you explain how that would work? Like if Gunter blogs on his blog and he has a category called Future of Text, could that automatically show up on a web page with our other blogs, for instance?
Yes, that's eminently doable. Basically, Imber could reach out and pull the feeds off of as many WordPress blogs as you told it about, and it could basically loop through those, pull the list of headings, use the Lens library to extract the actual content, also to generate indexes into the content, so it should be able to, yeah, it's doable. It's a simple matter of coding.
So hang on, does that mean that, for example, we could set up a blog account for everybody who's contributed to the book on our websites? And if someone has their own blog account, all we need to do is somehow associate those two and a tag, and this system can automatically tag what they're blogging somewhere else and put it in here?
You'd be able to program it to talk to the API on their blog, pull in their feed, and then it'd just be a matter of running some filters. And again, the Lens libraries make it easy to build up filters to extract things and put them together in different ways that you want. So it would be implementable, maybe a couple of weeks worth of programming effort, but it's doable.
Who would be doing the programming? You plus who?
Yeah, Gunter could probably help out on that.
Gunter, what do you think?
Okay. I don't know. So it's certainly a good idea, but I don't know how much how much time I can spend on it. I have to talk about this with Peter. I don't know.
Yeah, basically, once we have the code to extract a feed from one WordPress blog, it's just a matter of building a JSON file with the URLs of the other ones, and it can loop through them. So it's not that much harder to get from multiple people than from a single person.
So Raphael has put in a link here to circle.so. And I'm a little bit wary of asking people to join something. But by the way, that video of that lady talking on my screen, it looks so high quality. It's almost like she's there. It's spooky.
So that's the platform that Nest Labs uses for her community.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's this platform. You can see their logo if you scroll down a little bit. There's the Nest Labs logo as one of their clients.
I just had a thought, circling back to, trying to sort of widen the circle a bit. Someone you probably may have come across, Fred, just occurs to me is, her name again is Annie Campbell, Roland Campbell, who's been a part of organizing Brave Conversations. So whether it's something that directly interests her, but she might come across some people. And I did wonder if any of the people who were involved in, I mean, I know they're longer in the tooth, but some of the people who are involved in TEI, so back in the early days of hypertext, of the text, was it the Text Encoding Initiative, I think it is, which is quite an interesting thing in terms of text, might grab up, because I think there were a number of women involved in that, because it sort of came out of the arts as much as it did the sciences.
Could you repeat the name there? I was a bit distracted.
Oh, it's, sorry, it's, hold on a second. So Annie, I just put it in the chat, Annie's, she's also part of, she runs these Brave Conversations things that, just meet and talk on various things. She's Australian, but spends part of her year here. I don't know how that's running with the COVID at the moment, but she's someone I suspect who trips across a lot of people. So it might be
yeah. I met her. Interesting. I wonder why she's not in the book. Did I invite her or not?
And I ought to put a fly across Rosemary Simpson, because apart from anything else, part of her sort of working life has been as an indexer, which is another interesting angle on text as a sort of medium.
Yeah, I have invited her, but I don't know why it didn't happen.
Who, Rosemary?
Yeah, no, interest the.
Oh, Annie, probably just busy. But she knows Wendy quite well. Like you can never get 5 minutes with Wendy. But anyway, that's a thought.
Let me just send her an email immediately. Just say, just send her a link and say we're launching the second edition.
Is the list of contributors on the
Yes.
okay, because that's one thing to point people to is say, you know, if I mean, if you want to get a feel for who's there and sort of who isn't. But I think part of the thing is to break out the cycle of, well, you know, how do we ask the people who aren't in the room, is saying, you know, this is, you know, is to say to her, she might be in a position, it might not be necessarily of interest to her, but she probably might know people who aren't. I mean, the other challenge to me actually is moving outside, you know, outside things like Latin alphabet languages. So thinking of sort of Chinese and Japanese and all sorts of other, so, you know, there are all sorts of other spins on this in areas where there may be perspectives we may be missing.
Yeah, absolutely. That needs to go ahead. Now, I saw this. I found this guy, Sam Winston, on Twitter. Hang on, I'm going to give you a link to his website. It's called. So I've just invited him, but he is male. It's so strange. He just accepted. He does. You should have a look at his website. It's beautiful, 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 beautiful work, I think. It's very easy to make text look messy. It's very, very hard to make it look messy and beautiful. Raphael, I particularly think you will like this one.
It looks very nice. I love these interactions with text.
It's well, what is that? There's a type of text that is not supposed to be readable. Oh, what's it called again? Anyone know?
In what context? You not sort of filler text, but
No, like art. But the text is not supposed to have any inherent meaning.
oh, yes, I vaguely recall the term, but it doesn't come to mind.
We just say that it's typography used as a graphic element and not as text. Oh, I know somebody. This guy from Austin Kleon. He did that the dictionary blackout or something. This guy. Where
I couldn't hear that.
Austin Kleon. He did a project that he took like a newspaper or magazine and he used like a black pen to scratch everything out and only leave the words that he wanted.
Oh, right.
Then,
Yeah, different from that, but that's cool.
it's pretty nice work.
Another message out. Yeah, so okay, I will have a look at this. Excuse me. All these.
That seems a bit like the counterpoint to this. I don't know if you've come across the what's it called, the tree of codes, where someone did the reversing, where they took a book and using there is a text underneath it, but they've cut through all the pages. It's totally out there. But it's quite hard to find a copy also because the production of it's quite complicated. So they did limited runs. It's quite hard to find this now. But yes,
What's the name, Mark?
it's called Tree of Codes, CODES, and the author is Jonathan Safran, SA. I'll put it in the sidebar for you.
Yeah.
Can you show it again, please?
Yeah.
The book.
So it's called.
So
I'll put the thing in
Yeah.
the sidebar. It's not in print. I mean, you'd have to find. You'll only be able to find secondhand copies of it. But what they've done is they've sort of basically cut through. So it's sort of a rather surreal experience, and it's I guess an exercise in hypertextuality. But I was just thinking, this is another way in which you take one text and do something with it. I'll just write the.
Yeah, I found it. It's really, really cool. it's cut out with text.
Yeah, because the same little people who did this, they did a really nice reprint of Tristram Shandy, which again was low run, and I missed a copy of when I could have got it.
oh, okay.
This circle thing that was the link to in discussion, how do we feel people would engage with that? Would you guys post on this? Would you be engaged in this?
I definitely would. But I mean, it's because it's a place where people who have an interest in text would be in, right? So that by in itself would be like a hub of people who have the interest in the same thing. It's a niche community. So it's a place to find other people who like that niche community. And I feel that's what this is missing. We have a bunch of people that participated in the book. And I feel like if we had a home to go to to talk about these things, it would be a place that I would be looking forward to, like on a daily basis, to see what people are talking about, what people are showcasing, things like that.
Yeah, and of course, what we could do, we could take pieces from there and stick it in the next book, like highlights and so on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I suspect you wouldn't, it's another case where you might sort of tap into another group of people who are interested, and it might be a different group of some people who just rather write and contribute, and I don't think that really matters. It's the sort of interesting thing to Raphael talk about is it might be it's another way of getting in front of people who, for instance, if you just ask them, do you want to be interested in that, they might say no. But they are interested. It's just their sort of the means of activating them is maybe different.
Because one of the other realities in my life is, I've been developing this software for quite a while and poured in, by my own standards, a fortune of money, and I'm not making it back. And Apple's App Store is just really awful. I posted a screenshot video on Twitter today. I don't know if any of you.
I saw it.
Oh, yeah. Where there are 2 stories on the main page of the Apple App Store for students. And you click on them, and they have exactly the same content with exactly the same arbitrary list of videos. It's absolutely crazy. I know people quite high up in this environment who are really trying to help. But when I then actually communicate with the App Store editors, they're kids, basically, more interested in colorful gadgets. And I know we're being recorded. But so here's
No,
the
I,
thing.
but I mean, I
But
think,
the reason I bring it up in the context of this is I need to build my own community of people who use my stuff. And I think I should put that on here as well, but make it clear that any other software people should also have a home to do the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like everybody would benefit from each other. Like, it's a place where you can talk about your apps freely because it's people that are already interested in that area, right? So it's a nice way to bring people together. And I also, one thing is that there is a purpose to that conversation. So it's different than other communities that are there just to chat. The purpose is that we're making a second edition of a book, right? And we're engaging with people for that purpose. So the discussion is already going to be different because there's going to be an output of all that conversation. And that's already very, very interesting to explore.
Yes.
and I think the other interesting thing is to try and pull in is that it's always difficult to get people to talk actually about software because either they use it and like it, or they tell you 101 things they don't like, or they just ask for things that no one can build. But trying to get people to talk sort of constructively, which does happen occasionally, about sort of things they affordances they wish they were and why they want them. Because half the thing is it's not, you know, often people say, yeah, it's that, but I don't like it, I don't get on with it, or it's the wrong shape or something. Rather than explaining, it's really interesting once you get people to explain what it is they're trying to do, the picture gets much clearer. And often actually there's a solution already. They were just so focused on process, they didn't realize that there were things that could do that. But other times you sort of see, oh right, so the idea they have is not at all left field. It's just that the context is so different to most other people's experience that there seems, you know, it just doesn't map onto the things that we intuitively understand.
I feel like people could share what they're writing about, what they're researching about, what they're building, and then you can kind of get a general idea of the ecosystem that is happening around text, you know.
Yeah, and I think this is very interesting. I'll sign up and then play around with it this week and then announce it to the community if all goes well. And I guess we can take the content of the Google Docs, put it in a more structured form over to this.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad idea.
Well, that's an interesting observation in itself, is you now actually have a corpus of information. And one of the, and this is, you know, one of the interesting things to talk about is, in a sense, you know, what can be made with it. And not in a sort of sterile sense of, oh, we can take it from format X and put it in format Y, but more the sense of why we might want to and what we get out of it. And what we lose in some things and what we gain in others. Because I think that's quite germane to the overall subject. Because in a sense, it's putting the work that people have contributed front and center of the debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is useful.
And there's always the question of presenting text in a different way that was a topic of this discussion from the last meeting. I'm a huge fan of books because we're going to stay around for, you know, there's a lot of things that I can only find in books that, you know, that doesn't have on the internet anymore. So I feel like having a book is always a nice output as a complement to anything else that we choose to explore regarding text. I mean, books you can pick up and show people. I mean, this by itself is valuable, too much. It's very valuable. You can't do that with folders and digital files. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah,
I do agree. It's and how they connect and so on. So,
and I just did a cleanup of some of my bookmarks the other day, you know, for starting over.
bookmarks, no, books have to be dog-eared. If it hasn't been
Mm.
dog-eared, it hasn't been read.
No, it's just sort of sometimes you there's some things you come back to, and if you read them a lot, well, it's a bit like recipe books. You know, they fall open a certain page, the one's all covered in gravy or whatever. But actually, I sort of do find some things I leave because I think I'm now going to come back to it in a year's time, and there's this one bit that's really quite relevant, and it's not something I've necessarily captured in other forms of annotation. It's just something sort of floating around on the edge. Oh, yes. I go find the book. And it's nice. I love the way that some of the booksellers, not Amazon anymore, to Paize, so give you a bookmark, but they always used to, in places like the Book Discovery, you know, some of the secondary sellers. It's nice. You always get a book and it comes with a bookmark.
I never knew what to do with them.
Well, it shows you where you read to. That's the conventional.
I just leave lots of dog ears. If it's important, I usually leave it at the bottom of the page. Oh no, that's a cool one.
Yeah, I like it.
Very cool.
We did this in letterpress, in a vintage letterpress machine.
Do we have anyone? You because Fred remember the things, but another area is sort of calligraphy, was relating to text.
We do. We have. Oh, his name escapes me right now. But yeah, we do have at least one calligrapher.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have two, but yeah, more. And then, of course, we have Tim Ingold, who hated the whole idea of the book, absolutely hated the premise, really annoyed. And hang on. Sorry, I just got an email from this Sam Winston guy. He's all excited to join us, which is good.
Because I was just remembering there was a quite nice little series that's probably still floating around on the iPlayer on BBC 4. And I think it was about 3 or 4 programs on calligraphy. And one of the interesting things that I reflected on that, there were, you know, some, you know, trained people who've done it, spent a lot of time, all sorts of different tools and mediums. And one of the things that really stuck with me was someone explaining how the style of the writing was actually quite influenced by the substrate, the paper they were using, or the whatever it was they were drawing onto, and the nature of the tool, and how quickly the ink dries. And I sort of thought that was quite interesting.
There's a calligraphy teacher here in Brazil. Her name is Andrea Branco, and she's pretty much like the mother of calligraphers. She taught like everybody that knows calligraphy in Brazil, basically learned through her. Incredible person. Her work is amazing. It's somebody that I would invite to talk about text plus calligraphy. It would be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be very welcome. I mean, the thing with Tim Ingold, which is relevant in this, he's written a book on the line, literally a book on the line, you know, really beautiful, simple things like that I think we all appreciate. And he hated the kind of digital direction that I was talking about, which of course made him even more relevant to be in the book. So, you know, the
Absolutely.
more, which is why I just asked him, can I print your email on the book? And he said, no, fine, I'll write something. So we're definitely not just looking at someone who wants to optimize digital text. So yeah, calligraphers and so on, absolutely.
I'd agree.
So this one, Lines, A Brief History.
Line, The Brief History.
Yes, A Brief History by Tim Ingold.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember if it was all A Brief History. Yes, that's him.
They found it.
He's written another few similar, just yeah, very different kind of person.
Actually, this is the worst thing about things like this, is I just end up with more books. There was that conversation in the household the other day about, you know, when are you going to, when is this deluge of books going to stop? And I said never.
Well, buying books and reading books is 2 different activities.
Oh, absolutely. And I love it's what's the word, sundoku, the Japanese actually have a word for your stack of unread books.
Oh yes, I have that somewhere in my Devon Think database. When I saw an article and I immediately grabbed it.
Yeah.
Oh, also, there was another girl at the Computation and Law Symposium that was talking about using literate programming in the context of creating legal documents. There's a link to the paper that she was presenting. I might be able to reach out to her and suggest that she might be interested in our group too.
Yeah, great.
Leanne Hutner, I think the name was. And she's probably a colleague of Megan's. I think they're both from University of Paris.
Yeah. Sorbonne.
So I'll send her an email and see what kind of response we might get. At the very least, I'm interested in her literate programming side of things too. So
Yeah, that would be good.
that has a nice connection with text.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'll send her an email later on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very good. I think we made some good progress today with different things.
Mhm.
And see how we're going
Then
to.
we should,
Yeah,
so we should take a look at the Circle SO then.
yeah. It's not as simple as signing up. They want me to watch an on-demand product walkthrough right now and get started with a free 14-day trial, or schedule a 30-minute one-on-one demo. So it's a bit in-depth. So I'll take the time to do that, of course.
Yeah.
It might be easier for us to roll our own.
Yeah, let's see what they have. What they have first. It's good.
I could help out with the structure of like the foundation of the categories, like which categories we might have in the sidebar so that people can participate in. I'll come up with some ideas.
Well, that's a good idea. A little bit of an ontology structure ahead of time. That can make a huge difference. I'm doing a lot in Slack with Envisioning IO. They have a very nice public Slack forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a very comfortable platform to be working in. And of course, it didn't have all the torture of trying to deal with the Discord-based people. I just personally despise Discord. I wish them nothing but corporate bad luck. Unless they get their act together. I mean, I can't understand the logic of we can't trust the security of a landline. How many people change their landlines repeatedly so that they can spam online bulletin boards? It makes no sense.
I find that amusing because it seems like it's like a generation gap, because I've never had a landline in my life.
I was going to say, I think that's possibly the problem. Exactly, because this is a legacy technology which we don't understand.
Yeah, we
There'd be
were.
all sorts of ways that you could verify. I mean, they claim that it's because of security considerations, but there are a million ways they could address the security considerations without simply barring entire classes of users from being able to have any interaction with their users.
But can't they like send, you know, sometimes they send an email with the code, you use the code to check in.
Yeah, they refuse to do anything like that. As
Yeah.
far as they're concerned, unless you have an iPhone or a Google
That's
phone
weird.
or a major brand expensive phone provider,
Yeah, I mean,
you must be a criminal.
It's not like
Well,
it's
that's
not like
true.
you
That's
asked them to
another-
send a young lad on a bicycle with a telegram with a number you had to read back.
Well, I mean, there was a long period when you watched TV or a movie, whoever used Mac was a good guy and whoever used Windows was a baddie. Remember that? It was a bit.
I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. Those commercials were very
Oh,
funny.
yeah, Hodgson. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like Microsoft has more innovation than Apple these days.
Oh yeah, no question.
Apple's just living off of its lock-in. There are
Yeah,
a
after
couple
Satya
programs-
Nadella, things started going forward for Microsoft, I feel.
You should try the Mac M1 machines before you comment on that, Peter. Microsoft is very good at twisting around and making a little bendy computer and stuff like that. But when it comes to the hardware, Apple's doing pretty good stuff. As you heard earlier, I'm not exactly a fanboy in terms of the company these days, but no, they innovate, just not where we would find it more useful, I think.
Actually, thinking back to those ads, the other gem that I should dust off again is someone did a marvelous. It was a video, and it sort of starts with the iPhone box. It just has a sort of picture of a phone on the outside. It says iPhone, and basically it's imagining the Microsoft rebranding meeting. And by the end of it, it's absolutely covered in stickers and unreadable, which is somewhat true to life.
Hang on. There's a video I have to share with you guys. This is really annoying. I can't find it. 1 second. It's so important.
Well, I still find my absolute most important applications only live on the Mac. And it can be a little bit frustrating because I despise Apple to the point where I would gladly move to another platform if I could get DevonThink on it and Tinderbox on it and Liquid and Reader on it.
Yeah, I liked part of that sentence.
Yes, Liquid and Reader.
You have to have a look at this commercial. It's 1 minute and 3 seconds long. Please have a look, guys.
Rich.
We are in a whole new era. The
Oh, you
decade
have to mute, please.
around the world,
Frode, in the last meeting, you mentioned something about having demos on Mondays, the possibility of having demos. I still haven't shown to a lot of people what we're building, but it's finally reaching completion. So I would definitely want to show this group of people because the input would be extremely valuable. So I think sometime in the next month or so, I would love to have a demo day.
Yeah, no question. When you have a date, just suggest it. I'm sure we can do that.
Okay.
That'd be great. Rafael, did you see the Apple commercial? You have to see the Apple commercial.
It's the 1984 one.
No. Mark, click.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I watched the first. I mean, I do know it. I recollect it. Yes, it's a shame. I mean, Apple adverts now are immediately recognizable, but incredibly anodyne. They used to be. I think they were rather fun.
Yeah, no, it's just silly, but
Oh, that was a great ad. I loved it.
wasn't that great? The ending, the only limits will be the size of your ideas and the degree of your dedication. Oh. I've tried to find out who the teacher actor is. I haven't found out, and also, but I know the. I think the speech was part of what's his face when he pitched Newton to Scully. Well, I forget his name right now. Michael Chow. I think this is what he wrote, and he presented to Michael Scully on a flight to Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I get points for trivia, right? Yeah, it's amazing. All right. Well, I look forward to Friday. This was a good session. Hopefully, we'll have a home soon for organizing this stuff. Yeah, let's keep posting, everybody. Writing and hopefully posting on this new thing. Any last things before we start the week?
No, everything's pretty good. I'll reach out to Leanne and see if she's interested.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll try to come up with some of at least one of those ideas that I proposed as a means of sharing, getting feedback.
Fantastic. Obviously, if anybody wants to email me anytime during the week, but I look forward to seeing you on Friday.
All right.
Okay, bye for today.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Have a
bye-bye,
nice
guys.
week, everyone.